Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On the behalf of Vice Chancellor PIDE, Dr. Nadeemul Haq, and the Embassy of Korean Republic, we welcome you to the exclusive seminar on trade, investment, and human resource. This seminar is organized on the 40th anniversary of diplomatic ties between Pakistan and Korea. We are delighted to have with us the Honorable Ambassador of Republic of Korea to Pakistan, His Excellency Sangpyo. The program of today's event will be like that. We will have an introductory remarks by Dr. Nadeemul Haq, Vice Chancellor PIDE, followed by a technical presentation by Dr. Muhammad Zishan, Research Fellow PIDE. And then Mr. Asif Khan, who is Director Legal of Board of Investment, he'll join us soon. Will make a presentation. We are delighted to have with us the Managing Director, Overseas Employment Corporation with us, Mr. Nasir Khan Kashani sir. Thank you, sir. And we have a representative from Kotra, representative Kim Sung Jai. So he will also have a presentation about Korean investment and trade in Pakistan. This will be followed by a question and answer session. And then we will have a closing remarks by His Excellency Sangpyo, who is the Ambassador of Republic of Korea. We are also delighted and would like to welcome representatives of Korean delegation, including the representative of Human Resource Development from Korean Embassy, representative of KOICA, is the country director here. Welcome you here to PIDE. We have a representative of Lotte Engineering and Constructions. We have a representative of Korean Water and representative of Sangpyo Constructions. We're also delighted and grateful to Mr. Kim, who is a political senior officer at the embassy, who coordinated with us to organize this event. With this, I request Dr. Nadeemul Haq to give his opening remarks. Please, sir.
Thank you, Fahim. Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Khan from the Overseas Employment Agency, Mr. Kim from Kotra, Ambassador, and obviously many Korean representatives here, and fellow Pakistanis, dignitaries from Pakistan. It's a special pleasure for me to welcome the Ambassador and to welcome Korea to PIDE. I think it's especially for PIDE, it's a great story because, Ambassador, as I was telling you, PIDE and KDI were kind of twins born at the same time virtually. That's what we are told. And that PIDE continued to follow KDI's legacy. And we have a lot to learn from Korea. So it's absolutely great. In fact, the other thing also that we hear is, I don't know how true it is, that Pakistan and Korea also started planning their economies together and learned from each other. So this is also something that we value very highly in Pakistan. So Korea is a special place, Mr. Ambassador, for us in Pakistan. And we deeply appreciate your coming to PIDE. And we will, through your agency, try and get back in touch with KDI and Seoul National University and try and establish some kind of contact with them, because we try and reach out to all the universities. On PIDE, now let me quickly say that PIDE is a very old think tank, started in 1957, and is still the largest think tank in Pakistan. It's associated with the Planning Commission. It does do a lot of work. It has contributed a lot to the development of Pakistan, developed a lot of new ideas, helped make policy in a number of different ways. So PIDE is still trying to perform its role of being the national think tank, of being able to help the government make policy and to try and shed light on the economy of Pakistan. So we do a number of things that are very important, and we will share our work with you. So that's one thing. So we have a lot of things that we are trying to deal with the current economic crisis. The economic crisis is deep in Pakistan, and we are trying to figure out the way forward. So we developed a growth framework for the government. We developed a critique of the IMF program. We have developed a critique or analysis of regulatory agencies in Pakistan. Got a lot of stuff that we are doing, and we'll share all that with you. Now, you come here at an especially Well, as I said, difficult time for Pakistan, but also good time. Korea has been a wonderful partner for Pakistan in terms of being an investor in Pakistan, in terms of bringing in new technology and new goods to Pakistan. The most recent is Korean cars, and I'm happy to report that I own a Korean car. And I think PIDE, 2 or 3 other people own a Korean car. So we have voted with our money to say that we love Korean products. At the same time, I know that you're involved in many other activities. For example, I see Korean investment even in candy, in retail, in plastics, and many other things. So it's a great relationship, and I can see that Korea now has almost become the 4th largest investor in Pakistan. Uh, it's almost at the same level as Japanese investment. So this is a great thing that's happening. And Pakistan is also beginning to export some things to Korea. For example, we export a lot of ores, we export some clothes to Korea. So that's a good relationship when trade is happening on both sides. At the same time, I think we are beginning to also supply you with manpower. We have a very young population, Ambassador. We have about 50% of our population below the age of 23. So you can imagine we've got 125 million kids who are below the age of 23. And that poses a challenge as well as a dividend for us, because this population is keeping the growth momentum going for us, this youth population, and we have to try and create jobs for them. So our growth strategy that we're going to give you, a 1-year growth strategy that we've prepared, is basically based on capturing the energy of the youth. And we are a large exporter of youth, as you can see. We rely on our remittances about $36 billion, which is basically young people going overseas and sending money back. And now, from what I hear, these kids are beginning to go to Korea as well as the Far East. And it's good news. It's wonderful. It's great to have that kind of a synergy. After all, we live in a globalized world. And in that globalized world, we should all work together. I might also mention, Mr. Ambassador, I went to Korea in 1986. I remember when I just joined the fund, there was an annual meeting in Korea. And Seoul, such a lovely place, such a beautiful place. I kept it in my mind that I should go there again, but Korea was still beginning its journey of development, which we now know that it's a magical journey. Korea has achieved a huge amount. So, but I remember Seoul then, it was a beautiful city then, and must be even more beautiful now. And at the same time, as I told you, I had a number of colleagues in Chicago, some of them became very important professors in Korea. I must get in touch with them again and see how they're doing. So with that, let me welcome you to PIDE. Let me say it's a great honor for us to host you in PIDE. And now we'll try and learn a lot more about trade, investment, human resources, a relationship of great merit between Korea and Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'm sure there are many lessons for Pakistan to learn from Korea as well. And with this collaboration, we will exchange our experiences, and we look forward to learn more from Korean experience. To have this in context, let me invite Dr. Mohammad Zishan, Research Fellow at PIDE, to make a presentation on trade, investment, and human resource.
Thank you, PIDE, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you to the Ambassador Korea and all the fellows from Korea and the faculty, PIDE, and staff and researcher and all the guests. And I'll need to say some thanks to the Korean ambassador. So I'll just use another language. Sorry for the excuse, the Korean language. 니사님이 나는 KGSB 장학금 보통 한국에서 와서 그래서 박사했습니다. 북경대학교에서 부산에서 그래서 나는 마음대로 그냥 한국 사람들한테도 대사님한테도 감사하고 싶습니다. 그래서 감사 받으세요. So I just told him that I got the KGSB scholarship from the government of Korea, and I studied PhD in Korea from the Pukyong National University. And I'm thankful to the people of Korea, and I'm thankful to the ambassador as well. And I told him that my Korean is not that good, and forgive me for that. So today's topic is trade, investment, and the human resource. If you look at the Korean economy, it's a wonderful economy. The GDP is more than 5 times of Pakistan's economy. And so it's big economy and has a lot of potential as well. And the other thing is it's growing in a positive way. They have a balance of imports and export as well, but the volume of export is much larger than the imports. So they have trade surplus. The situation is not like that. So that's why we have a trade deficit in Pakistan at present, and which is worsening as well. And today I got the message from the State Bank of Pakistan, and they say that a businessman cannot withdraw more than 30,000 in a financial year of the US dollars. So the situation is really getting into the crisis right at the moment. And if we look at the key statistics, the Korea has maintained a good import and export to GDP ratio. And even the export to GDP ratio is higher than the imports. So definitely it indicates a trade surplus. But the situation is reversed in Pakistan. I think we need to work on that. And this is not just the 1 year. If we look at our history, we have a habit of this expenditure. We always spend more than we generate income. So our exports are not that much. If we look at the very beginning, like in 1974, we were at the same position. But over time, the Korea, they really worked hard. So they gradually moved from that trajectory of the trade deficit, and they moved to a trade surplus situation for a long time. We met many times, the Korean economy and the Pakistan economy, but we didn't have good habits, or there might be other regulations as well, and the other, points in trade that we need to encourage. So I think we need to improve this historical situation and turn it into the good story. We have good imports from Korea. It's like 1.5 billion imports from Korea. But if you look at the total imports of Pakistan, they're like 2% of the total imports. So the trade, there is a lot of potential to expand trade between the two countries. In the share, as the VC Shah mentioned in his speech earlier, the vehicles, we are really thankful to the Korean vehicles, the Kia, and the Kia is new to the market. And I see a lot of Kia cars on the road. They are really good, and they are economical, and they have good safety measures as well. But we'll talk later how we can make them more economical and more affordable to the consumers. And there are other imports from Korea as well, such as iron and plastics and machinery as well. So Hyundai have some history in Pakistan. The Kia is good in the country, but many people they are looking for more affordable cars, and the prices are not that much unaffordable, because we have some good some regulations in the country. If we avoid those regulations, I think the prices will be cheaper compared to the international, our local market. So if we look at the Pakistan's exports, we had a reasonable exports to Korea historically, but we didn't maintain it. Our total exports were less than a billion, less than even $500 million in 2017. And right now it's $250 million of exports to the Korea. So I think we can expand the volume of trade with Korea, but there is a reason why the exports are not increasing in Pakistan. So we'll discuss those reasons later. The share of Pakistan's exports are basically we export primary or raw materials to the Korean economy. So the cotton and the lead and the clothing and some of fish as well. So we need to look for the new products, the high value products that can add more, foreign exchange reserves to the country. So it's very logical that we cannot earn a trade surplus with that kind of history and that kind of trade policies. So naturally, our trade deficit is increasing over time. It's just with Korea, and the situation is same for other countries as well. I don't think we earn a significant trade surplus from any other country, but it can be turned into positive, like the Korea did with persistent effort. So I think there is a lot to learn from that economy and from the trade statistics and from the Kotri, the Trade Institute. There should be a collaboration that we should work on how to increase the trade potential. So there we have a lot of trade with Korea, but we are not utilizing it fully. There's a lot of potential. We have existing products, exportable products to Korea. Like if you look at the cotton and other products like the men's trousers and apparel and instruments. So there is a lot of potential, but our production is not that much high. So the producers, they have some problems because of our local problems, high cost of energy and high tariffs. So the prices, overall prices are high in Pakistan. So producers are unable to produce and export that much. The same is with the Korea. The Korea also has a lot of potential. This is the export potential for Pakistan, Korea's export potential. If you look at the second last, it's the motor vehicles. Motor vehicles have the largest potential in Pakistan. Right now, like they can expand it like around 50% of the current exports from Korea to Pakistan. So we need to look at the market and look at the other avenues, how we can increase the trade of cars, and along with the cars, how can we increase the trade of other products to the Pakistan. It will be beneficial not only to Korea, but also to other industries in Pakistan as well through backward and forward linkages. The solution, as I mentioned, we need to identify higher value addition products in Pakistan and we need to reduce the trade barriers. We have a lot of trade barriers. The tariff and the non-tariff revenues are in the state. And all these problems, the tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers, and higher cost of production, they do not allow us to produce and export our potential. So we need to reduce these bottlenecks to increase the trade with the other countries. If you look at the investment, the investment is quite high in Korea, but in Pakistan, we are almost at the same level, not moving at all or moving very slow. And if you look at the foreign direct investment, it's volatile in Korea, but high. It's volatile in Pakistan as well, but it's not that much foreign direct investment. We need to look at the reasons. The foreign direct investment to GDP ratio shows that the Korea and Pakistan are at the same level in terms of the GDP. So I think there is something we could contribute if we could, facilitate the foreign direct investment in Pakistan and Korea, the trade people in the industry and in the investor, how we can bring them together so that it could help the foreign direct investment in both countries. If you look at the overall investment to GDP ratio, it's quite high in Korea, but it's very low in Pakistan. In Pakistan, we are stuck at like 10 to 15%. But the Korea is moving between 25 to 30%. So if I want to understand what is the reason of high investment to GDP ratio in Pakistan. So this is the reason. In Korea, they focus on the private sector. So we see all the investment in Korea is mainly coming from the private sector. It's like it's moving between a scale a range of 25 to 30% to GDP. If we look the overall investment, the same thing. So if we could facilitate the private sector so that they could boost the trade and investment in the country, that will add to the overall, investment and the trade in the Pakistan. So how we can avoid it? The first step is the investment is not one-time process. Investors think how the country will behave like in a year, in 5 years, or in 10 years. It's not a simple solution. So we should have stable policies. In Pakistan, the biggest problem is we don't have a policy. Or if we have a policy, the policy is not stable. The policy is supposed to be stable because the investors, they make the cost and benefit analysis based on the policies. If the policies are unstable, how can make a cost benefit analysis? And the other thing is we have high import tariffs in Pakistan. the trade and investment, they are really linked. If we have trade in a country, and if you are going to invest in a country, so after you build a production unit, you need raw materials. You can get raw materials from the local market, or you can import it. In Pakistan, raw materials are expensive. Why? Because we have high import tariffs. Due to the high import tariffs, the cost of production increases because the local producers, they increase the prices in Pakistan. So what investor do? He try to import the products from other country. So there are direct tariffs. So the investor, he cannot get the raw material from the other country as well. So why investors should come to Pakistan? If there are regulations, there are high domestic or there are high intermediate products from the import, the high cost of the importing products. So there is less space for investment to breathe in the country. I think we need some space to the investors. And finally, as the Visa mentioned, we have a lot of population endowment in the country. We have a high population growth in Pakistan, and that diaspora, the population endowments can contribute positively to Korea, because right now the population growth rate is negative in the country. So I think the Korean people and the Korean economy, if they want to move with the same pace, they really need labor force that can help them to grow with the same pace and to sustainable growth path. So Pakistan labor endowments, they can contribute to the Korean growth path. So the two economies can be integrated through that channel. And if you look at the, as the VC mentioned earlier, we have a lot of young people in the country, and they can go and they can contribute to the Korea's economy. And it's just not for the benefit of Korea, it's also for our benefit, because the diaspora, they contribute in a lot of ways in Pakistan. Like they share in remittances to their households. Remittances are a big part that add to the trade surplus in overall surplus in the Pakistan, current account surplus in the Pakistan. So the key messages are what is the way forward? So we are stuck, and how can the two countries move together and grow together? So the overall scale of the trade is very low between the two countries. 1.5% of 1.5 billion US dollar exports from Korea to Pakistan, 0.45 billion US dollar exports from Pakistan to Korea. Every combined is like 2 billion US dollar, is nothing. So we need to, if you look at the size of the economy, the size of Pakistan's GDP is like 340 billion US dollars. Size of Korea's economy is more than 5 times of Pakistan's economy. So there is a lot of potential, and we need to utilize that potential. And we need to remove the investment bottlenecks, because trade and investment both are linked together and both grow together. And if we facilitate the trade, the investing community, I think our trade and investment will grow together. And because the firms, they don't come for a year. The firms come and they are based in a country for late decades, and they need to make the cost benefit analysis for long-term period. It's not possible without stable policies, without a lot of strange kind of rules and regulations and SR cultures in Pakistan. Unfortunately, we didn't have any free trade agreement with Korea. It's very unfortunate. There is a free trade agreement proposed in 2013, and it's under consultation. It's like a decade. It's been under consultation, and it's been not submitted to the WTO. I think this is a high time to push that free trade agreement between the two countries, because it will be beneficial for Korea and for Pakistan. For Pakistan, we need investment and we need exports, direly. And the Korea, they need population, they need young people to contribute to their economy. So I think if you focus on these points, it will benefit the two economies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zishan, for a very nice presentation about Korea and Pakistan. As Zishan was mentioning that investment is very important part of any economy to grow. And PIDE has recently, just 2 weeks back, organized its annual general meeting and conference of the Pakistan Society of Development Economists in Quetta on the same topic, which was investment, and two other themes, which is employability and productivity. But investment, we are, through our research, is telling the government to deregulate, deregulate, and deregulate. And with this, keeping this in context, let me invite Mr. Asif Khan, Director Legal from Board of Investment, to tell us about the challenges and constraints and policies they are working on to promote investment in Pakistan. Asif, sir, please.
Thank you so much, Ahmed Wakar Sahab. His Excellency, the Ambassador of Korea, and all, dignitaries, good morning and assalamu alaikum. This is Asif from the Board of Investment, looking after legal affairs. Since I do not have any, tailor-made presentation or a speech for this session, but I do agree with my colleague, Dr. Zishan, on who highlighted the gaps between the trade and investment from Korea to Pakistan, and of course from Pakistan to Korea. And of course, there exists a huge potential regarding trade and investment between the two countries. As they have highlighted, like there are some barriers and there are some regulatory measures that need to be eased out. So I'm here to clarify that BOI is cognizant of the fact that, of course, few modernization and regulatory measures which are obsolete, and on which we have received the feedback from the private sector that these can be removed, these can be eliminated, or those can be simplified to encourage investments, not only local but foreign direct investment into Pakistan as well. For that matter, we have registered one initiative that is called Pakistan Regulatory Modernization Initiative, and that the sole purpose of this Pakistan Regulatory Modernization Initiative is to simplify and eliminate all those regulatory measures that we feel and that the private sector feel that hinders the encouragement of investments into Pakistan. Since till now, we have carried out almost 120 reforms through this PRMI initiative. And amongst those 120 reforms in around 30 priority sectors of Pakistan, wherein pharmaceutical is the foremost, wherein around 20 reforms have been undertaken till date. There are other sectors like, as the automobile is quite strong in, Korea, but there are chemical sectors, and we are working on efficiency seeking investments as well. It's like, if you see the historical trend in Pakistan in the FDI, it's more about the market seeking investments into Pakistan. It's not about the efficiency seeking investments. So at times you see like those investors come, they do expand, but there is no, significant contribution into the Pakistani economy. So now this with PRMI, we have also registered another initiative, that is a regulatory guillotine, wherein we are like, eliminating altogether all those obsolete regulations. If you like approach some department in a province or in the federal area for licenses or registration, you may sometimes feel confused that there are multiple departments working with the same objective, with the same mandate. So at times you feel like there can be a conflict of interest. So BOI has taken keen interest in this, and now we are working on to eliminate those, conflict of interest regulations amongst the federal and the provincial departments. Like, for example, if you approach the food sector, so there is one federal department by the name of Pakistan Quality Standard Control Authority, but in provinces there are different departments. So sometimes you feel that the standards are different in both, while it should be synchronized. So we are working on this. Now we have also started work on the sectoral mapping and regulatory transformation in Pakistan. So we will map all the flow processes, the registration processes in all departments, and then we can put it on our website so that investors from anywhere in the world, they can see, they can find the appropriate opportunities in Pakistan. And even from that website, we have also registered a website a domain that is business.gov.pk. So you can surf that website and you can find out which kind of licenses and from where in Pakistan you can find those registration processes and all the flow process for your business activity to be established in Pakistan. Now, a bit about the legal and the regulatory engagements with the foreign countries. So whenever we have an engagement with foreign countries like Korea, so there is a term we called as MOUs and bilateral investment treaties. So there are bilateral investment treaties, multilateral investment treaties, and there are free trade agreements. I do agree that there is no free trade agreement existing between Pakistan and South Korea right now. Of course, we have one bilateral investment treaty signed in 1990, ratified in 1990, that still stays in force. But since during the last decade, there have been many issues that arose because of those bilateral investment treaties signed between foreign countries. So Pakistan, in accordance with those arbitration processes, have designed and have developed a new model BIT template, bilateral investment treaty template, and that has been shared with all counterparties, all the other foreign states, so that we can start negotiation and we can sign those bilateral investment treaties for the investment promotion and protection as a reciprocal between Pakistan and Korea. So my request would be from the Excellency Ambassador of Korea that, of course, if he can add his voice into this negotiation process of signing initiating the negotiations on bilateral investment treaty with South Korea. There are other aspects of like how to promote and encourage foreign direct investments. So one study was carried out in I'm not sure, but it was in 2019 or 2020. It was in the Columbia University in the US with the assistance of the World Bank. And their findings are that out of the 28 factors for to promote FDI, bilateral investment treaty is one of the factor of promoting an FDI. So our engagements with South Korea and our encouragement of foreign direct investment from the South Korea will be maybe like this bilateral investment treaty can spur the foreign direct investments from the South Korea. Yes, overall I agree that the economic situation across the globe is not kind of favorable for investments across the world, but of course Pakistan can provide potential in terms of the raw materials, in terms of the labor, cheap labor, then the skilled workforce, then the young population. So I would request the Korean businessmen to utilize these potential for Pakistan. So that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asif sir. Indeed, there are a lot of opportunities for Pakistan and Korea to collaborate. And one aspect is human resource. We have like 234 universities in Pakistan. And as Dr. Nadeem mentioned, and Dr. Muhammad Zishan also mentioned that there is 60% of the population is youth who is available and that can be exported to Korea. In this aspect, I would like to invite the Managing Director, Overseas Employment Corporation, Mr. Nasir Khan Kashani, to give his views. Kashani sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for this opportunity. PIDE, His Excellency So Sangpyo, the Ambassador of Korea. I hope I pronounced it right. Dr. Nadeem, Nadeem Ul Haq, Vice Chancellor PIDE. our representative, Mr. Asif from BUI, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. And I believe that it's very important to know the perspective of the Overseas Employment Corporation, because I don't think we have reached out to a level where we should have in the last, particularly in the last 20 odd years, because initially, let me just give you a historical perspective of how OEC came about and what was the mandate and what have we done since 1976. Just a little glimpse of it, and then I will talk about what we are going to be doing in the future, particularly in the near future. We don't expect to plan for too long, but I think as we go along, we need to be realistic, and at the same time, the challenges which are coming in the form of pandemics and other things are needed to be taken into consideration as well. So Overseas Employment Corporation, the federal government of Pakistan approved in 1976. So the organization has been there since 1976. It was established as a corporation under the rules of business, and it was 1913 and later on the 1984 Companies Ordinance, which governs it basically. And the primary mandate of the Organization of Employment Corporation is to have a G2G mechanism to promote the human resource abroad. So basically the mandate is to send the workforce abroad for employment. And for that, we do all the procedures and all the formalities which are needed to be done. Initially, the idea, I think, probably came in 1970s was because the Gulf was opening up. So GCC countries were the target, including the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and all these countries, UAE. And Libya initially, I think, was also there. But the main focus was Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where we sent a large number of workers, and mostly unskilled workers, sometimes skilled workers as well, like healthcare workers, nurses, and others. But as the time passed by, initially the numbers were very high, and then the numbers started to go down. And the reason being that, the other countries also came in, like India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and all those countries. They also started sending workforce. So the demand of the Pakistani workforce came down, but still, we still have a very large presence in Saudi Arabia, as well as other countries like UAE and Qatar and Bahrain and other. The Korean relationship is very, very interesting and important in the sense that we have history of since 1980s, the relations, as it was already discussed in detail. The bilateral trade and investment relations that we have has been growing, but of course not to the point where they should have grown by now. But still, I don't think that it's a bad journey, because there is always opportunities to grow. And the FTA, which was talked about earlier, I don't think FTA is the solution. I think it's the diversification of the exports and the imports that we're talking about, and opening up more avenues as we go along. Here, I would like to tell you that in the context of the Republic of Korea, because the time is very short, so we have been able to increase the remittances to about $100 million compared to about 50 million or so. It was a 100% increase compared to the last year that we're talking about. So here I would like to appreciate, let me take this opportunity to appreciate the Embassy of Korea, especially our ambassador. I think he's been working very hard to promote the human resource export from Pakistan, particularly in the wake of the employment permit system, which came about in 2006. I think that employment permit system it ushered in a new era for the Pakistani manpower to be sent to Korea. The numbers have grown, dramatically, and now I can proudly say that, with the help of the Embassy of Korea, the HRD, and other Korean companies, who chipped in during this time. We've been able to train about 26,000 Pakistanis in Korean language, and I think that is a remarkable achievement in a very short span of time, and keeping in view particularly the 2 years that we have lost in COVID from 2020 till almost 2022, because this was the time when the entire countries were locked down and there was no movement. So 2 years were lost. But despite all that, I think the gear that we have, applied in 2021, now we've been moving very, very fast. And we're opening up new centers. I joined last month, so we're now going to open new centers in Karachi. We already opened one, and now 2 more that we are looking for to open up in Hyderabad and Sakhar. So we will try to cover Sindh, go into Balochistan and the Gilgit-Baltistan, and try to establish more centers to train the Pakistani community, Pakistani skilled, semi-skilled, and labor manpower in Korean language in big way, inshallah. Secondly, I would like to also appreciate the efforts of the embassy to increase our quota also from 20. It was increased to 2,400 from 1,100, which is another remarkable achievement. I think it was a great partnership that we have been able to increase that quota of the manpower export to up to 2,400. And if we achieve that 2,400, we get another 20%. So that is going to open up more avenues for our Pakistani brothers and sisters to go to Korea to earn a good livelihood. One thing that I would like to tell you here, that compared to the GCC countries, the pay is 5 times higher. So Korea is a serious destination for our Pakistani manpower, be it labor, be it semi-skilled or skilled. If we continue to go on this path, I think achieving 5,000 a year target is not going to be far off, provided that we get the kind of support that we have right now. And I really, really appreciate the close coordination between the HRD, and especially since the arrival of Mr. Kim. I don't know where he's sitting. Yeah, he's been doing a remarkable job. He's been all over Pakistan. He was in Karachi last month, and the Queka. I think that as the country director, I think they've been doing a fabulous job. So the future is bright. Pakistan and Korea relations, I think, are bound to grow, not only in trade and investment, but also in the human resource arena. And as we go along this path, we already signed an agreement on 5th of December, just 2 days back, and the ambassador was kind enough to honor us with his presence in the Ministry of Overseas Employment and Resource Development, along with the Minister of our Human Resource Development Ministry. And we're extremely thankful for that, because that will open up another 2 years for us for the employment permit system. And it's going to be, inshallah, an amazing ride. And we're going to increase the manpower export to Korea, inshallah, with the effort of everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kashani Saab. And yes, it will be a win-win situation for both Pakistan and Korea. Let's move to our next presentation, which is by Kotra representative, who is Sangjai Kim, who is Director General Kotra. Let me tell you that Kotra is Korean Trade Promotion Corporation. It was established in 1962, and Kotra played an important role in facilitating Korean rapid export-led economic growth. So let's hear from the Director General and see what lessons do we have for Pakistan. Over to you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Am I correct? Thank you very much for having me here. I appreciate for the PID and the Korean Embassy's efforts for having this wonderful event. I'll give you a brief presentation regarding the overall picture of Korean companies' contribution to the economic development of Pakistan. I'll just take 10 minutes. First of all, let me give you an explanation on what Kotra is. Kotra, as a part of the first 5-year economic development plan, Kotra was established in 1963. It began as a natural trade promotion agency, and it became a national trade promotion agency, and it became a business promotion agency by adding investment function in 1990s when South Korea hit the Asian financial crisis. Currently, Kotra has close to 130 offices in 84 countries. Many of them as a commercial section of the embassy. We are doing our best efforts as a gateway for the overseas business promotion for Korean companies. Kotra's Karachi office was set up in 1973 as a first office in South Asia. Let me briefly touch upon the bilateral trade trend between the countries. I compared the exports of both countries between periods 2010s and periods 2020s in order to give you the general trend. Exports of Pakistan to Korea has been increased by 66%, while the of Korea to Pakistan has been increased by 47%. Recently, due to the breakdown of global supply chain, South Korean companies are paying more attention to Pakistan as an alternative or optional source of industrial materials, including non-metallic minerals. In addition, many South Korean hospitals are buying surgical materials from Pakistan these days. As to FDIs of Korean companies in Pakistan, Korean companies have invested in Pakistan from 1980s. A notable example is Daewoo Express. Daewoo not only built highways, but also introduced high-quality intercity bus services. Now Daewoo Express is 100% Pakistan-owned company, leading intercity express industry by maintaining top-quality service standard. Manufacturing companies began their investment from 2000s, especially Lotte invested in multiple key industries, including chemicals. As you may also know, Kia, Hyundai, Samsung has begun assembly operations in Pakistan recently. I'm sorry that I left out construction services companies. Here we have many Korean construction, many representatives from Korean construction services companies. Well, I was focusing on the manufacturing companies. This is very significant in terms of developing Pakistan's new competitive advantage. This is because Korean companies comes to Pakistan not only with investment funding, but also with service and technology experience, accumulated for over 50 years of industrialization experience in South Korea. The South Korean companies have sent to Pakistan their engineers with testing knowledge, which is the knowledge learned from many years of hands-on experience from the floors of factories. These engineers transfer their skills and experience to Pakistan engineers by working closely together every day here in Pakistan. As you can see, through this collaboration between Korean and Pakistan companies and their engineers, the upstreams of the global value chain smile curve can move upwards to become a perfect smile. So now Korean company, Pakistan companies are working together to increase the capacity of R&D design assembly here in Pakistan. The trend are expanding into medium-sized companies. KOTRA has hosted the Pakistan-Korea Industrial Collaboration Forum and Meet since 2019. Through this event, we introduced a first EV three-wheeler, a product of Korean and Pakistan collaboration. I believe that the prototypes are running around here in Lahore city. The Pakistan company, which is a spin-out of LUMS, are planning to expand it into other major cities. We are also trying our best to enhance the localization efforts of automobile parts in Pakistan by arranging partnership among companies of both countries. As a final point, I would like to highlight some suggestions for attracting more Korean companies into Pakistan. And my first suggestion is that Pakistan needs to make a Korean investor in Pakistan happy, and then they will become the Korean investors in Pakistan now. They will become a natural supporter for Pakistan FDI initiatives. To do so, it is very important to resolve grievance in a timely manner. And this can be done by setting up Ombudsman Office for foreign investors in Pakistan. The head of this Ombudsman Office has to be politically, economically influential person who has direct access to PM office and provincial government decision makers, so that they can, the ombudsman can easily resolve grievance from foreign investors. Second suggestion is that Pakistan needs to enhance market accessibility to neighboring countries. The custom clearance cooperation and FTAs, ANGUS, needs to be considered. Pakistan now is considered as a gateway to Middle East and Africa for some Korean companies, and not a small number of Korean companies in China and Vietnam with a factory. They are looking for next manufacturing hub because due to the increasing labor cost in those countries. So the easy marketability, easy market access to Middle East and Africa, Pakistan will be the very good candidate for those Korean companies. With that, I finish my presentation. Thank you very much.
Now, before I invite His Excellency the Ambassador, I think we now have the question and answer session. Please raise your hand who wants to ask a question, introduce yourself and tell whom you would like to ask the question. And I would also request that जो बोर्ड ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट के हमारे पास रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हैं आसिफ साहब, इन्होंने भी जाना है जल्दी, सो इफ यू लाइक टू आस्क एनी क्वेश्चन टू द बोर्ड ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लीज डू दैट फर्स्ट.
थैंक यू जी. शाहिद महमूद, रिसर्च फेलो पाइड. आसिफ साहब से मेरा सवाल है, आपने
if you can speak in English.
अच्छा, if you my question is to Asif Saab. You mentioned that a lot of reforms had been carried out, and you mentioned that 20 of those related to the pharmaceutical sector. Where can I find the information on that? Which reforms specifically did the BOI carry out?
I'm Mahmood Khalid from PIDE, and thank you very much, Excellency, to come here. In fact, I remember a few years back, we had a professor coming all the way from Korean Development Institute, and he gave a lecture, preliminary lecture in our annual general conference in Islamabad. So it's always nice to have you here. My questions are basically two, one from the presenter, which spoke from the Korean side. What's his perspective that whatever we are looking for is a kind of a supply side or the demand side? What does he see Pakistan? Is there a potential? Because whatever you're suggesting can be a kind of a suggestion, but what's your perspective that is Pakistan a potential hub for such investments? My second question is from the Overseas Employment Office, that given the work culture changing from physical transfer of persons to outside world and working from here for them, such as calling centers and freelancing and others. So do you see your role in that kind of employment as well, where the person is working for clients outside in the service industry, but he's located here? Do you have some plan from that perspective as well? Thank you.
Abid Rahman is here, research fellow at PIDE. I'm working on mobile phones, and Korean and Chinese player are one of the leading in this. So I've been exploring, like, after the manufacturing policy of mobile, like 2020, there have been a lot of assembling of mobile phones in Pakistan. But my concern is there is no R&D in the we are only provide CKDs and we have to assemble it. So is there any effort by the Korean government regarding that? Like the Korean government has started working with the lucky groups in the Samsung. So is there any plans, like Korean government is looking for the investment FDI in R&D and all this stuff? I really want to hear that from.
I would like to take this opportunity because
If you can introduce, please.
I'm Wakar, working here at PIDE. The Kotra representative is here, as well as we have BOI representative here. So Kotra is trying to bring in the foreign direct investment here in Pakistan, and you are working with different investors who are working here. So what kind of main problems they are facing here in Pakistan, if you can elaborate on that? I'm asking this question because BOI representative is here, and they are trying to modernize the regulatory framework of Pakistan. My perception is that it is mostly regulatory related issues that foreign investors are facing in Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The first question is, where can you find out those reforms? So the reforms that have been carried out already that are available on website business.gov.pk. It's from the Board of Investment. Also, you can find this on the Board of Investment website, invest.gov.pk. Or if you can Google it, PRMI, Pakistan Regulatory Modernization Initiative, you can find all the reforms. So whatever you find, like whatever your need is, you can find all the reforms there. If you find some missing reforms, you can write to us and we can give you all the details about all the reforms. Hope this answers. Yes, about
the second question from Wakar.
Yeah. Wakar sir, thank you so much. Yes, I do appreciate the presentation from the Kotra, and yes, they did highlight it about some issues. They suggested one important thing for ombudsman office or establishment of an ombudsman office in as a bilateral, engagement, so that the grievances or maybe the disputes or the complaints can be addressed at a fast pace. Yes, this is very important and very strategic, strategy. We have in our model bilateral investment treaty, which has been developed with the assistance of the Law and Justice Ministry and the Attorney General Office. We have this, this criteria for establishing an ombudsman office between the two states. If we are going to conclude an investment treaty with South Korea, so there is one point of establishing this ombudsman office. Where will it be located? Who will be the head of this? All these things will be decided in the negotiation process, and that ombudsman will be empowered to address the grievances of the investors then and there, and they have direct access. They will have direct access to the prime ministers of Pakistan. So it is proposed. It is,
In fact, we are getting a lot of assistance from BOI. Whenever we approach them, they give us the prompt the response and assistance. However, the problems that our Korean investors facing on a daily basis is not the regulation or laws. It's more because as I was in Iraq, India, and USA as a prior post, and Pakistan's laws and regulations is pretty good, as I understand. But this the problem is more like at the level of floor, the level, the implementation of those regulations. Consistent and transparent implementation has to be there, and it's very necessary. It's very important.
Thank you very much. The question that you just, I think it's the right question. When we are living in this pandemic age, particularly post-COVID, a lot of things are happening. Initially, the mandate was G2G, as I told you in my speech, and we go into an agreement with a governmental organization, and then we export the manpower physically, and that's how it has been. But recently, we signed an agreement with a Japanese company called Plus W, a Japanese HR company, and we have shared about 2,700 CVs of IT professionals to be hired by the Japanese IT company, and they're doing development work as offshore resource from Pakistan. So this is the first one. And so many more to come as we go along, so we're open to everything.
Sir, can I quickly ask a question? Since you're here, we seldom get a chance to talk to BI, so it's important to do that. You mentioned the regulatory initiative that you have. This has been going on for about 3-4 years now. And the pace of reform is very slow. Right now, as I mentioned, the crisis is deep and grave. And we need to fast track our investment, not just foreign investment, even the local investment. The local investment is 15% of GDP. And I don't see why the foreign investment would come here if we have 15% of GDP. So why can't we fast track deregulation? What Mr. Kim said here just now is very important. If our regulations are so vague that petty bureaucrats can implement them to bother Korean agencies, then I think our local investors are in deep trouble. This is what we see in our sludge report. And I urge BOI, and I've done that many times, for God's sakes, can we just simply do a broad-based reform? When Ronald Reagan did the reform in US, he didn't do it item by item. He just across the board got rid of things. So our proposal to you is get rid of all NOCs today. Let's not wait. Let's get rid of all NOCs today and let people come with proposals if they want an NOC. In fact, I don't even see what the need of an NOC is. NOC is like when I was a kid, I had to ask a teacher, please, may I go to the bathroom? That NOC should go now. We are all grown up. So why do we have this thing? So what is BUI doing about that? Or is BUI just sort of playing a small game, like 1-2 things? Harun Sharif used to say that I'm doing this, but that's too slow a reform. How can we pick up the pace?
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Your question is quite pertinent. And of course, there are answers embedded in your question as well. Yes, we are playing our own game. Maybe step by step. The revolutionary process, as you mentioned, like sweeping all the regulation overnight, it's a bit tough. There are after the 18th Amendment and the devolution of powers or subjects into the provinces. And at times you find there are some, priorities different from the provinces of the federal government. And since if you find several subjects like tourism, still we have in federal government, the tourism subject is still not clear, which whether it will be, controlled by the provinces or the federal government. So reforms in those kind of, sectors. So there are many, in food as well, in standards as well, in investments as well. Reforms in those sectors becomes very, challenging for us. We present it to the cabinet. The cabinet has to seek comments from every stakeholder. Then stakeholders have got different priorities. So at times you have to cope with the political challenges as well. So, and when these political changes occur, so there are some shifts in policies as well. So sometimes you see that some reforms are taken quite fast, but some are like stays pending for so many long times. So yeah, there are like some challenges for us. Sometimes we are also handicapped, we are helpless, but of course we are working on it. And yes, we do agree it should be on the fast lane, but we are working on those challenges, and of course presenting those challenges to the federal cabinet as well. So yes, your point is very relevant. It can be taken with the revolutionary approach. I'm afraid it will be tough for us as well. Hope this answers.
Revolutionary approach. I'm proposing a Reagan approach, hardly revolutionary. I'm approaching the approach that Maggie Thatcher and Ronald Reagan took, that they did a broad sweeping reform through the country to allow investment to happen. And their economies took off for 30 years. So my point is, why can't we do that? And the issue is, for example, NOCs. Why can't we eliminate? I mean, we've been making excuses for a long time that the provinces and this and that, etc. The point is, do we want our economy to die? Do we want the foreign investors to totally lose interest? What is it that we want? And I think there BOI should lead and should allow us to put forward. We put out a very strong proposal. Allow us to put forward that proposal to the cabinet, deregulate the economy, because this, what I'm hearing from Mr. Kim here is not very comforting. I don't know why as BOI you should be comforted that he says that the laws are okay, but the implementation, which means basically what he's saying is the laws are so vague, the NOCs are so vague that petty officials can do anything they like. And that's a job that we should fix very quickly.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Actually, yeah, I do agree with the quota representative. They have, like, their investors have got issues with taxations as well, and of course the laws are too vague. We do agree with on this. There is some capacity, like there are capacity constraints on the part of BOI, on the part of Federal Board of Revenue. So those capacity constraints sometimes hinders, like the reforms processes, and the end result is that we are losing foreign direct investments. So it's frequently on decline from the South Korea to Pakistan. The figures, if you see the statistical figures, they are on decline. Yes, we are working on capacity building as well. We are engaging the private sector as well. We are engaging consultants as well. And yes, we are in a process to formulate a framework on how to make those reforms a very easy and quick process. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Asif Saab, and we understand you have a commitment at the POI, so thank you so much for your presentation and participation. Let me take the opportunity, since we have the country director of KOICA with us, Mr. Jean. I would like to invite him to share his experience in KOICA is working in Pakistan for quite some time, and they have sent a lot of people to Korea for technical assistance, for training. So may I invite you to share your experience with us, because the human resource issue, we always hear that there is a human resource issue in the government, especially, and in the private sector also. But when we see the infrastructure in Pakistan, as I mentioned, we have 234 universities in Pakistan producing hundreds and thousands of graduates every year. And if you look at the technical institute, the technical and vocational training institutes, there are more than 800 to 1,000 training institutes there. So what is happening in your view? Where we are lacking in terms of human resource contribution?
My name is Jae Ho-yeon. I'm a country director of KOICA Pakistan. Thank you for giving me a chance to explain the KOICA activities. Actually, KOICA is the grant aid agency of the Korean government, and we have many programs, especially we have invitational training program. So annually, we invite 50 to 60 Pakistan government officials to Korea to train them in various institutions and universities. So this year, in agriculture sector, and then the other the government sector, we train almost 60 government officers, and then we have 1,600 KOICA alumni, and then so I heard the evaluation from the institutions and then the universities for the trainees from Pakistan. They said all Pakistani trainees and government officers are very smart and very talented. So I think, but they have some difficulty. I mean, the Pakistani trainees and the officers, government officers, they have some difficulties to adapt what they learned from Korea to their current jobs in government as well as in private sectors. So I think it's very important for the Pakistan government and then the other private sector to employ the Pakistani trainees and government officers because they're very smart and talented, and then they learn many things from Pakistan.
Okay, thank you. Before we close this, I'm sure that this first of its kind PIDE and Korean embassy even have benefited us to at least start the debate and discuss the trade, investment, and human resource issues for more collaboration. And on the behalf of PIDE, I would like to I hope that this will continue, this collaboration will continue in the future. And I think it's time to go east. We have been to go west all the time. I think it's time to go east now and to learn from our own regional countries, including Korea, because there was a time when Korean team came to Pakistan in Karachi, and they have developed their first initial 5-year plan in Karachi, and from there they took the game ahead, far ahead from Pakistan. So there are so many lessons for us to learn. With your permission, Vice Chancellor Saab, I would like to invite His Excellency Sangpyo, the Ambassador of Republic of Korea to Pakistan.
Dr. Nadim ul Haq, Vice Chancellor of PIDE, and Nasser Khan, Managing Director of Overseas Employment Corporation, and Kotra Country Director, and the KOICA, and our Korean investors, K-Water and Lotte Construction, and I see that the other Korean investors here, and all the distinguished guests to attend this very important seminar on promoting trade and investment, human resources between the two countries. And I especially thank to PIDE. It's a very well-known research institute. I just know that since 1977, it was established this institute, and also in the early days in the 60s, worked with the Korean Development Institute for developing our economy together. So I hope that next year, for 40 years of diplomatic tie between the two countries, Korean embassy would like to expand our research or that intellectual cooperation with PIDE, we call it. And I touch upon some questions raised by the floor on the Korean and companies and Korean government cooperation with Pakistan companies and research institute or in the aspect of that research or that working together for the production, global production together. So we have a Director General from Board of Investment. We know that already our country director told us that this country, all the regulation in comparison to the country, other developed country, much better. So in terms of regulation, it's good for the foreign investors. And since the Saleh Hussein and assumed his duty as federal minister, the reform process is going past. So we are very happy about that regulation of this country. But problem is, as the country director of Kotra already mentioned, for the small and medium-sized Korean companies which invest here, they face difficulty for the bureaucracy of the local level, local level institute. That should be addressed in the case that we can invite more small and medium-sized Korean companies investment to here. But on the other hand, for the Korean big companies, they have they experience different difficulty. So policy, transparency, and predictability of the business practices. That means that sometimes certainly business practice and policies have changed, and sometimes government of Pakistan and the Institute of Pakistan, they don't respect the contract. Sometimes it happened. So for the big Korean companies, they face the difficulty because they before they invest their money to Pakistan, they calculate all the risk and benefit opportunity. But certainly that changes. That phase makes the Korean investors, big companies, has difficulty. So in the case, we urge a lot and we discuss a lot with Pakistani government, and sometimes we resolve that issues. So we here in the Korean companies, they still have some issues with Pakistan authorities, but we are like now solving the problem. So why that Pakistan's policy has changed and it's difficult to keep going according to the contract? One of the main reasons is shortage of the foreign currency in Pakistan. Today, the Dr. Asim, he explained that Pakistan export last year to overseas 35 billion US dollar. Whole export from Pakistan to the world, 35 billion US dollar. Remittance from overseas Pakistani to here, around 30 billion US dollar. So export is not so big. So and then last year, I remember that import from overseas Pakistan last year, 62 billion US dollars. So all the gap between the export and import trade gap, it covered by the remittances by overseas overseas Pakistani people. So that's the problem for the shortage of this country. So Korea is the same as Pakistan. In 1960s, we didn't have any foreign currency. So we start to own the more foreign currencies to finance our social infrastructure development and everything. So right now, Pakistan companies and government should need to focus on more the getting the foreign currencies. That makes the all the investors working very smoothly in this country. So we heard a lot of time that, for example, the Korean company pay the tax first, and then they should get back the refund the tax. But it takes so long time. Sometimes takes more than 3 years, 4 years. So that happened because of that. Currently, this country short of the foreign currencies. So, question from the floor: how? Oh, well, one is that question. I remember that how Korean companies and government cooperate with Pakistan government and companies to increase R&D and make the Pakistan companies and Pakistan economy more produce domestically all the product. You know, R&D basically a government can do with corporation, but more do by companies. I mean that, for example, Lockheed Kia Motor in Karachi, they are producing the Kia Korean car in Karachi. I visited 2 times. Once I visited 1.5 years ago in Karachi, Kia Lockheed Motor factory. At the time, the localization of the Kia vehicle around 10%. So I visited recently Kia Motor lineup up to the 30%. That means that the Kia Lockheed Motor, they already produced that component of the Kia car 30% in Pakistan. So that's how the companies, Pakistani companies, can develop their technology with foreign investment. So Kia still they have a little problem, but still a successful story. And other our investors building the hydropower dam in up north, they also have a difficulty to proceed their project. Already started 5 years ago, still didn't come up with the starting the groundbreaking ceremony of the hydropower dams. But I hope that recently this government more focus on that building the dams, because of it can protect floods in the summertime, in the monsoon season, and that dams can provide surely the electricity and also can provide the water to agricultural sectors. So I guess that Korean company can contribute in that sense also. And one other question, I remember that how can the Pakistani company can be a supply, to the Korean companies for manufacture final product? That means that that kind of global supply chain. Right now, all the country, all the companies of the world, they are connected. So some part we produce to other country and they bring to the Korea, and we make a final product. To stay in the global supply chain, the company should very predictably and very stably supply the component. But Pakistan still that is missing. So sometimes, for example, because of the export ban, they cannot produce the component here. So it delayed 1 month to supply the component to other multinational company. That company cannot survive cannot survive in the global supply chain. So practically, Pakistan and policies and business practice are very good, but implementation is more important. So Pakistan companies should be the good, very reliable producer to the global supply chain. That's the very important point to make Pakistan economy and Pakistan company become more reliable and more productive and more good companies. So right now, next year, I already told that Pakistan and Korea will celebrate 40 years diplomatic ties. So in the case that I hope that we, Korea and government and Korean companies can help and cooperate with the Pakistan government and corporate companies to make the Pakistan economy more better. One part is, I guess, that import substitution. Substitutions. Right now, all the vehicles in Pakistan manufactured some vehicle manufactured in Korea, in Pakistan, and some import from outside. So right now, Pakistan has, as I told you, that there's some skill, some technologies like gear motor. So Korean investors can help the Pakistan companies to substitute the import in some product that makes less losing the foreign currency to outside. And Korean company try to support increasing export from Pakistan to other country. That's one of good platform would be that free trade agreement, but it's not easy. But in the opportunity of the 40th anniversary of our diplomatic ties, we tried to make a good agreement in trade and investment. That's the big issue we have right now or in the years to come. And surely our infra companies, hydropower companies will speed up the making the hydropower dams for Pakistan that can provide more electricity, that can make that Pakistani companies can use the electricity to produce more good product for selling overseas or outside country. And finally, I'm very pleased to say mention that Korea right now increasing that human resource cooperation with Pakistan. Last year or this year we increased that already explained all that Pakistani workers to enter Korea. We increased it up to the 2,500 And next year we can increase. I think that because Pakistan human resource are very good already explained. I didn't know that. I first time was told that Pakistan has 235 something university, more than 800 technological institutes. So mean that there are many good human resources in Pakistan. So I hope that from next year we can increase our human resource cooperation, and in every sector. I hope that Korea and Pakistan increase our cooperation a lot, so we can be a real very friendly and very close country together. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And with this, we conclude this very important event. And on the behalf of His Excellency and the Vice Chancellor, may I now invite you to have lunch with us on the rooftop.